Do you want to start by introducing yourself?
Yeah, do I need to just kind of talk into it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Richard. I'm 18.
Richard, 18.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice talking with you.
I do eat meat though. Like I'm not vegan at all.
Okay, I was gonna ask that first. All right, so not vegan at all.
Yeah.
Do you? So I'm guessing cheese, milk, everything.
Everything.
Okay. So what do you know about veganism?
Well, it's just not eating animal products, and like, I'd say I agree with you that like the way that animals are handled and animal products handled sucks. Like it's pretty morally awful. But I feel like in general eating meat isn't a bad thing to do outside of the context of that. It's kind of like saying having an iPhone makes you a bad person and you shouldn't have an iPhone because it's like based around mass like fucking just capitalism bullshit, you know?
Okay.
Like just bad corporate politics and shit like that.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I hear when people talk about veganism, they do bring up other injustices, whether it be poor labor laws in different countries, the problem with iPhones, like you mentioned, or different crops like avocados. But you did say something how you can recognize how factory farming is immoral or has issues.
Yeah,
Terrible.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But you mentioned that you think that killing like eating meat in general isn't bad, right? So my question is, with those other products, right, like iPhones or different capitalism bullshit, like you put it, those are, I would say, injustices and problems within the the conveyor belt of industry, right? And people do advocate for change, right? But something like something like an iPhone, right, does not inherently need to have people die or people abused, right? But when you eat meat, you have to kill the animal to eat that meat, right? You can't just chop off a chunk and grill it, right?
Yeah.
So do you think there's any ethical way of killing a sentient animal?
Yeah, I think if a lion kills something in the woods, that's not unethical of it. And I think in general, people are still animals at the end of the day. Like, I don't think it's immoral for a living being to eat another living being, because that's kind of how everything works. I think ideally, it is a good thing if you're vegan. Like, that's tight as fuck. Good for you. That's sick. But I don't think someone's like a bad person if they get their energy in the same way that pretty much everything that's not a plant gets energy. You know what I mean?
Sure. So you mentioned a couple things, right? So first off, I don't think you're a bad guy. I think it's so socially ingrained for us to eat meat. I mean, that's still what the majority of people eat. I think only 1 or 2% of the population, if even that, is vegan or vegetarian. So, most of us still eat animal products. But you mentioned lions, right? Do you think we should be emulating what wild animals or what lions do? Because lions, besides eating meat, they do a lot of bad shit. They'll eat babies, they'll rape each other, they will, and again, do lions wear beanies? Do they vape? Do they, wear Converse? You know what I mean? Like, we've really strayed away from what wild animals do because of how harmful the actions are. It's specifically sexual assault. So we, specifically gone away from kind of imposing our will on lesser, humans. So why shouldn't we extend that to other animals?
Well, I still think a lion, in nature, if a lion rapes a baby lion, that's fucked up. That's like still a bad thing.
Yeah.
I don't think a lion eating.
But would you say that's moral?
For a lion to eat something smaller than it?
No. The rape.
No, that's awful. Of course.
So then why is it moral for them to murder or tear apart a baby animal?
Because that's how almost every being in nature works. They're not conscious of the fact that it's a good thing. I know the response to that is we are, but I think to a certain point, you kind of need, I think separating humans from nature entirely is kind of blind to the fact that we are animals.
Sure.
I don't think it's morally bad to just act in the way that we're naturally trained to without harming other people. I think that should be the ultimate goal. You know what I mean?
Sure. So I'll address a couple of things, right? So I think people forget that rice, wheat, grains, fruits, that's all natural too, right? So all of that is in nature, not just eating animals. But the other thing is, I would argue that we are not natural carnivores or predators like lions. I don't know if you ever held a small animal. Was your instinct was to bite into it and tear it apart?
Puppies,
Had puppies. Did you ever think about eating them?
No,
Ripping them to shreds?
no, that didn't
Did you even think about like grilling them? Like even not in a savage way, just form, no, you thought, oh my
You're
God.
asking questions you know the answer to. Like, of course not.
Of course not, because you could tell that because you could tell that it's a small, living, innocent being that has its own experience. It could be happy, it could feel sad. You ever step on a puppy's? Sorry, you ever step on a puppy's tail?
Yeah, yes, I've stepped on the dog's
Right,
tail.
and it jumps in pain, and
It's some shit, yeah.
And I think, we think that eating these animals is okay because we're not there. Like I don't know if you ever watch any slaughterhouse footage, but billions of.
It's shit. Like I've started that, but it's not good.
But like, how do you think? Like, do you think it would be humane for me to walk behind a dog and shoot it in the back of the head?
If you're in a situation where here's the thing, I think in modern society, of course not.
Okay.
But I kind of already gave you that point that the way that humans eat meat and the way that we cultivate meat sucks. Is the question like?
They don't walk up and shoot a dog in the back of the head though. Like they skin fish alive. Like I've seen that they're flopping with their skin flipped off.
Yeah, no,
They
it's
don't, and
terrible.
Like, we don't understand that because before you can understand or talk or walk, you're eating meat that's like pretty and neat and flavored. So you
Yeah.
don't understand what it is. You think it's normal because you're a baby. Like I'm still on the fence because, yeah, like it's fucked up. Like we're raised that way. Like we don't understand. We see it pretty and neat and everything.
I'm
But they
saying
don't
like
do that.
outside of the context of how we cultivate meat, like outside the context of how it's processed, say like a tribe in somewhere that doesn't have like the way our society's formed, would you call them immoral for eating meat?
Yeah, good question. So what you're kind of heading towards is survival, right? So
Yes.
like how a lion eats meat to survive. Now, but you mentioned modern society, right? So I'm not going into indigenous tribes who don't have grocery stores, don't have modern amenities, and telling them you're a bad person for eating meat. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you who has Stop and Shop, Market Basket, Walmart, all these grocery stores where you can go and get any food you want anytime, and you don't have to choose the animal products, right? So with our modern society, do you think that is an ethical choice when you don't have to eat meat to survive?
Ethical, I don't think it's unethical to go and buy a steak though. I mean, in the same way that I think it's similar to, I don't think it's unethical to go and buy an iPhone because you're so far removed from it. I think the companies and the way they handle it is unethical as fuck. But unless you're planning on taking down every institution that does their stuff in a shitty way, which like you can't, it's America, you can't.
Is there any humane way to murder a sentient being, an animal that's sentient, so they could experience, they could feel, they can understand, they don't want to die, right?
Yeah.
Is there any way to humanely murder somebody like that? Dogs, cows, chickens, pigs, humans,
One sec.
Yeah, take it.
Yo, are you about to come through? We're at 22 proof, so just park down here, downtown, like parking garage. I don't know. I'm talking to some guy. I'm debating veganism on some like Steven Crowder type shit. He has like a sign and shit. That's fine. Take your time, man. Alright, man. I'm gonna try to wrap this up because I feel like they want to eat.
Yeah,
So
by the way, you're free to go anytime,
yeah,
so I'm not
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
make you stay.
Do I think it's moral to? Is there a moral way to kill a sentient being? I don't know. I think moral is a weird term to use because, like, what's moral? I think beyond like the way human, it's like what we think is good is just fucking how things are normally. I think the best state for nature to be in is how it's normally ran without us interfering with it. And animals eating other meat animals is a part of that. So I think just completely breaking that up isn't necessarily a good thing. So yeah, I mean, like, we're people. Any animal that's on the top of the food chain eats other animals below it. So
But-
people are gonna do the same shit. I think you can't hold people to the standard that they have to act perfect morally without either trying to infringe on people or coming off like you're trying to do that. I'm not saying that you are,
Sure.
but that's why veganism has a rep like that. And I think like the guy who just came by, there's no shot you're gonna tell that man's like, oh, you shouldn't eat meat because it's not ethical. He's gonna take that as you're trying to tell me what the fuck to do, and I'm a fucking free person. I got rights. You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, that's the thing. I'm not trying to tell what to do. I'm trying to ask you questions and see where your moral framework is. Because like you said, you've had puppies, right? You would never hurt those puppies. Most people wouldn't want to hurt animals, wouldn't want to see them tortured, abused, killed. Yeah. But because of the societal norm and because of the convenience, we eat the meat anyway. We don't even think about it, right? So again, like I understand your point where you're saying in the wild animals do this, but can you think of any like? We're not far removed from the wild, from nature. We're far removed from the suffering and death that being in the wild entails. And wild animals don't artificially breed. It's billions. It's more people that are on the planet are killed. The number of animals that are killed every year.
No, but that's fucked.
But how can you have meat available without having that mass production?
Things being ran very, very locally. I think you can have farmers there are farmers who give their animals a good life, so that's completely a thing. And I think at the end of the day, there's not a mass industry that doesn't suck. So, like, that's it. It's just like any other fucking mass industry. If things are ran locally, then that's good. What humans want, humans are gonna do. And I think at the end of the day, humans are fucking animals. We want to eat red meat. Steak is the shit. Like I know you don't like steak. Steak is the shit.
What if humans wanted to rape?
What if? Then they should be shot and killed.
Okay, so rape is bad, but murder isn't.
Rape and killing a pig is not the same thing at all.
But we do forcibly impregnate cows.
Yep, and that's mass industry, which I already said sucks.
No, in order to produce enough meat and dairy, you can't have cows mate in the wild. That's not a thing. There is no such thing as wild cows anymore. All of it's domesticated, all of it's artificially bred, all of them.
Yeah, but you can have local farming that's done morally.
So even local farms still have to forcibly impregnate the cows. Very, very rarely do they have bulls actually there to impregnate the cows. And at the end of the day, they also have to...
Rarely, but you asked me how it could be done morally. I'm saying that's how it could be done, and it can be done.
But for 7 billion people on the planet?
For the 100 people in a small community, a small farmer could do that. I'm saying I agree with you. Mass consumerism of meat is shit.
So would you argue for...
Mass consumerism of anything is shit. But yeah. But like... Eating meat in general isn't a morally bad thing, and it can be done in a right way. It just happens that it's a thing where it's not done in a right way.
Okay, and I think we're getting to a point where we can wrap it up, but I do want to leave you with one thing, right? When you say eating meat isn't a bad thing, it could be done morally, right? Yeah. Think about not so much like practicality. Like obviously the mass industry, like you said, it's fucked, and there's a lot of issues with it. But at the end of the day, do we need to end an animal's life? Can you actually give an animal a good life if you know that in 18 months after it's born, you're gonna slit its throat, shoot it in the back of the head, take its babies away for dairy? Like, yes, you can have them graze. Yes, you could give them food. But when you're using them, it's a commodification. It's capitalism. When you're using these living beings for money, can you actually call yourself more or say that's humane? You know?
I mean, every job is using living beings for money.
But they don't.
Everything's ran on using beings for money.
Right, but but you know the difference, man. Like, not every human. Like, I work for a large company, right?
Funny, yeah.
Look, I work for a large company, right? I work from home. Yeah, am I getting a little fucked? Probably, right? But that's why there are people who are raising awareness for that. But I'm not getting raped. I'm not getting killed. I'm not getting my babies taken away. You know. But nice talking to you.
Yeah,
What is your name again?
Richie.